Hi, welcome to Charm Persons. B's in the chat. Bees, I actually get to talk to you because this is a Talkback. Welcome to the Season 8 Talkback. If you haven't watched Season 8 and you want every bit of it spoiled for you, then keep watching. Thank you for joining us. Before we start announcements, 2 days from now, on Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, we finally have the next episode of Curse of Strahd. We are nearing the end of that flagship campaign, so please come check that out at 7 p.m. Central on Thursday. And then we're finally back in Campaign 3 for Session 50 at 12 p.m. Central on Sunday. And then that's it for upcoming streams. Follow us at Charm Persons on most social media to see what we're up to, and join the Discord Charmed family. Bees, hit him with the link. Wow, the timing on that was amazing. Thank you. I'll send you $10 on Venmo. That is not legally binding. That's it for announcements. Thank you for joining us. This is the Season 8 Talkback. Lots of crazy, emotional things happened. This was our third season in Blue Valley. It began with Angie and Emily playing Morgan and Jenna. And Angie played Morgan all the way through to the very end. And it was an emotional end, an emotional season. But before we get into the events of everything that happened, I'd love to hear from each of you why you chose the character that you chose and why you chose the skin that you chose. We'll leave Emily and Angie for the end of this conversation. The question's a little different for you. But let's start with you, Meg. What inspired Perry Parker?
Oh man. I think it just comes down to as simple as I usually play idiots and I always try to be the comedic relief because that is what sits in my bones. And I really wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to give myself a character to play that not only is kind of a woman of few words and is pretty closed off to people, but also to see if that is something that I can do, is like improvise with actions and not words, or drive a through line without much dialogue, at least in her story. So that was kind of it. Is just I wanted to be someone a little more that touched grass more often than I sure do, and most of the characters that I typically play. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I think that that's what a lot of us do with tabletop games, is explore different parts of our personalities and different aspects of ourselves through characters, which I think is great. What about you, Jen?
I'm so excited I get to answer this question. Because, first of all, like long before I had planned out anything about this character, I literally had a dream that I was playing this game as someone named Ruby Russell. That name came to me in a dream, and I woke up and I was like, I hardly knew anything about the game yet. Like I hadn't planned anything. And I was like, I guess I know one thing. My character is going to be named Ruby Russell. And so that's what started that. And then the inspiration for her backstory came from a book that I had recently read called I Who Have Never Known Men. It's a short novel by a Belgian author, Jacqueline Harpman. And it's this like group of women who escape from an underground bunker, and they kind of have no memory of what happened to them. And without saying too much, they kind of never find out the meaning of their lives and like why this crazy thing happened to them. And it's kind of a very eerie book where like it's like makes you question like, is it better to live or to die, truly? But it made such an impression on me, and I was like just thinking a lot about it, and I was like, how interesting it would be to like have that kind of backstory where you have you know, there's a little bit more knowledge there about why you ended up in a bunker and were raised in a bunker. But what a crazy life to have your only prior knowledge of the world to be in a bunker. And then I wanted Ruby, kind of the opposite of what you were saying, Meg. I was like, it's going to be really hard to play a character if she comes out of the bunker and is like totally reclusive and scared of everyone. So I wanted to make her a little bit more like eager and like desperate to engage with the world for the first time. And she was the book smart skin, which feels just apropos. And I was like, that seems like it'll be easy to play. And it fit with like the backstory that I'd created for her, where she was like hungry for all this knowledge, even though she didn't have the real world experience.
It's so crazy that Ruby came to you literally in a dream. That's just really nuts.
Like stunning. This will never happen to me again.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but that's...
I know.
It means something for sure. Yeah, no, I loved the idea of the bunker. Because, you know, that would happen. There are people who are preppers, and there are people who are, like, really intense with it. And, you know, I mean, we see Bill, especially in the show, and the way he lives. And what if that's taken to an extreme, and then what if that person is forced to then wander the known world? And yeah, that's and not only that, but like to be born in a bunker and not know what it was like beforehand.
Right.
I found really interesting. All right, Adam, what inspired Wallace?
Yeah, right before I get to that, has anyone seen that Brendan Fraser movie where he's in a bunker and then comes out to like be in the world?
Yes, Christopher Walken's his dad.
You would talk about a movie right before talking
This is so I'm in the game.
Uh-oh. So, he's just role playing. This isn't a session. This is a session.
No, and Wallace is not a character. Wallace is me. Wallage. I came to the character being like, okay, I've played some intense characters in Charmed Persons, and not necessarily the most endearing of people. Frequently
that's spot on.
The other players. So I really wanted to be just like a guy. And what better place to be a guy than the apocalypse where there are zombies. I was looking at the book smart skin, and I wanted it to be sort of like film smart, because I had just finished watching Station 11, which was asking really cool questions about what stories do we tell at the end of the world, you know, like what stories do like the next generation, when they don't have the same lives that we had, you know, what will resonate with them and what will they want to say. And I just thought it would be an interesting thing to sort of explore in this world, like how they tell stories would change, and what they would value as important in a story would change too. But I just thought it was also funny to look at if you only had a selection of DVDs that was just, you know, the DVDs that are at your stepdad's place, you know, like what. And that's and those are the movies that you would have, and the art that you would have to understand like living by.
And only like the first of a trilogy.
Yeah, that was such a funny moment, but also such a like true thing. Like that would be you wonder how much art would be lost to the, you know, to time. And yeah, I mean, all three of you brought really intricate, deep backstories, which was awesome, because that's what The Remains is. And I was really impressed because they were also three unique backstories that we had not seen in the remains before. You know what? It is funny though. Probably the closest backstory we've had to yours, Meg, is the character that Michael created. Zachariah Williams Gavin. He also came from a prior community where things went wrong and and came in, which I find touching. But yeah, though the bunker thing was super cool, and then yeah, like I don't think we've not had. I mean, you know, Emily played the pianist in season 6. Yeah, it's like, what does she's you don't remember? She's like on the cruise ship.
I don't remember what season it was. To be
Oh, okay. Yeah, and what would an artist do in the apocalypse? That's something I love about Station 11, which is cool to hear that that's what inspired Wallage, which is so funny. We called him Wallage so many times on the stream. We're calling him Wallage because Adam accidentally put Wallage in his Zoom name. And so it just kind of happened from there. Okay, awesome. Thank you three so much. For the two of you, the question's a little bit different. Emily, having played Jenna for 2 seasons in Blue Valley, and then Jenna dying off screen, you know, because of what happened in season 4 and the reveal that she had cancer. What was it like coming back to that world, that this very defined world that you were a part of, and then what was it like playing the younger sibling of the character that you had played?
Yeah, I mean, I think Angie and I probably faced a similar thing coming back to Blue Valley, which was that, like, do we play? I mean, there was a minute where we talked about, like, maybe Jenna is alive, like, maybe this is part of that story, and we sort of made the decision that that story was done. But it felt wrong coming back as somebody, like, brand new to the community. I like played with making a new character, but it's like I can make a new character any season of the remains. It would feel weird to not be a part of this community. And I thought of playing Vicky. I thought of playing there was a few other people like through the community that I thought about, but as soon as I thought about playing Tori, it was like, well, yeah, of course I'm gonna play Tori. I think the challenge was number one, like mourning my own character was like weird and complicated, but also you built Tori as this like spitting image of Jenna, despite the fact that they'd never met each other in a lot of ways, which was like fun and uncanny, but I had to make Tori her own person.
Yeah.
Like even toward the beginning, I kept like we kept calling her Jenna. I mean, I think we always did, but figure out how she was like distinctly different from Jenna. Yeah. And then how to interact with Morgan.
Which, to be honest, there wasn't, we can get into this later, but there wasn't really a ton of interaction between Morgan and Tori. And I would have loved to have seen what happened had Morgan survived and how Tori and Morgan's relationship would have continued to grow. That would have been interesting to see. But before we jump into more what ifs, Angie, last question for you. What was it like coming back as Morgan and being back without Emily playing Jenna, which was such a big part of Morgan's story?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird, honestly, and like I'm glad I did it, but it was a tough decision. Like when you were like, we're going back to Blue Valley, I was immediately like, yes, and it was like Morgan that was excited about it. But I think so much of, you know, she was the first Remains character that I created, and we like created the protector skin specifically for her because I was like, I don't really want to play. We've talked about this in like other talkbacks, but like Morgan was specifically created to be the antithesis of what people find in this world, and like she was wanting to create and rebuild, and like was super invested in, you know, the creation of this community from the beginning. Like that was her life's purpose, and like you find out kind of that she married Wes out of duty for that community, and like, you know, loved him in her own way, but like she wanted to create and she wanted to build. So then coming back 10 years later, after like her, you know, true love, her like person dies, and then 10 years later you're playing her, like the grief is still there, but it looks very different than it would be if it was fresh. And so it was like, not only to come back and be without Jenna, but to be without Jenna for 10 years, and like what has that done to her, and who is she, and like how do you find that when like you as a person, like I haven't grieved something for 10 years, like really truly, like in that strong of a way. Like my, you know, I've had grandparents that have died, but like a person who has been in your life your entire life, like throughout the course of your existence, that you have like multiple different relationships with, like that is a wild thing to like tap into. So I was a little nervous, I was a little scared, but it was ultimately like, I felt kind of like the mom with the kids, and I was like, oh, it's just my job to keep them safe, like I don't really have to do anything. If they need me, they'll come to me. But like, it kind of felt nice for Morgan to just be like, yeah,
it definitely felt like an Act 3 story for Morgan. Well, we can get more into that later. But awesome. Before we jump into like more narrative stuff, I'd love to hear from the 3 new people, whoever would like to speak on it. You don't have to speak on it if you have no thoughts. Just because, you know, this is a system that I created, and heavily based off of other things. And just what your thoughts were on it, and what you liked, what you would have liked to see more of. And yeah, if you had any thoughts on the system and how we play the remains. Don't hurt my feelings.
I mean, I've been watching since like season 1. I remember Michael was like, oh my, because Michael got me into The Last of Us during the pandemic, and it's now like I'm fucking annoying when it comes to this franchise. Like I want to punch myself in the tit. Like shut up about it. But like I remember he came to me and was like, we're doing like a Last of Us RPG new system game, I don't know, and I was like, hell yeah. And I started watching and I was like, oh, I'm jealous, because these people are so good at playing this game, and it is so like it's just so intentional. I don't know. I think that from the get-go, I've always been a fan of the system. I'm someone who likes this fandom, this franchise, because I like killing zombies, and I appreciated that there was a lot of zombie killing in just 4 episodes. Because I do love a good, like, I don't know, I do love good like role play and relationship building, but I also love rolling initiative. It's just there's a serotonin.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know. Yeah. So I give it a 12 out of 10, my guy. Great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad you had a good time.
I brought up something to Zach like in person after the last session that you wanted me to circle back on, that I'd love to get everybody's input on, which is just I was talking about how like as devastating as it is, fights would happen way more often, like in the world. But the problem is like you don't want to just like doom everybody to die by making that happen much more often. So like I said, I wondered what would happen if fights happen more often, but they also majority of the time are like fingers. And so a lot of people, like it's not uncommon to be like losing fingers or losing a hand even, but it's not outright killing people, but it does raise the stakes of a fight happening more often. Yeah.
That's scary.
I mean, it's scary. Like I hate it, but right? Like nobody got bit. which is why I was like, it's kind of crazy that nobody got bit.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Well,
people almost
Morgan
got
got bit. Morgan
Well,
got ripped.
that's
for
true.
the second time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my response to that, and Beast, that's an awesome message, and I want to touch on that in just a second. The way when I responded to Emily, I said like I would be interested to hear what other people thought, because I kind of feel like I was aiming for bites, especially dangerous bites, to be similar to the level of how often you die in 5e. So it's like it happens, but it's like a once every, like it's not surprising that it didn't happen within 4 sessions. But I also agree that like the danger of getting bitten is like, I mean, every time there was a D100 roll, you could go and check the footage, and all of your heads were in all of your hands. So yeah, I would be interested to hear if you have any thoughts on that.
Mechanics feed the tropes, right? That's like the whole point of the game.
Yeah.
And while I do really love that, like even the littlest nick or whatever is something to fear.
Yeah.
With zombie bites and stuff, it does make sense that zombies also just tear you apart, like if
Yeah.
watching Shaun of the Dead, just like a person just getting eviscerated.
Yeah.
Without even getting like a zombie bite into them.
Yeah.
Was a thing. And I like when I hear of like a zombie bite trope, then it's like, oh, the story is then about how that character deals with knowing they're gonna die and having their faculties and having this like choice.
Yeah.
And so I really like that it's a danger, a risk in the world for every character. But like if we had to roll on that thing for every single attack from it, like that would have been just like, I would have just been overloaded with like, oh, I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Every single zombie's gonna give me zombie-itis.
That's a good point. It would definitely heighten the anxiety for sure. Yeah,
Well,
no, and just sorry, I just wanted to say, and specifically what you're saying with like the tear you apart thing, specifically the Last of Us runners and clickers and stuff, like especially in the game, their hands first, they're swinging, they're wild animals. Like it's not I want to eat you, it's I want to destroy and or consume you. So it's they're so wild and erratic in their movements, which is another reason why the combat is the way it is, where an infected's going to go after because they are so, I mean, they move in such a rapid beast-like state that like humans can't even do it, because humans have to compute, if that makes sense. It's like humans can be fast, but they still have to compute, whereas like these things aren't computing. It's like it's pre-programmed, it's happening. And so yeah, it's just pure chaos. Real quick, I want to touch on something that B said in the chat. First of all, if you hear our dog freak, we heard a huge boom outside of our house just now. I have no idea what it was. Hopefully everything's fine. It's the zombies. But B said, this is going to sound weird, but I found that The Remains is one of the only ways I can consume media that's based around like zombie apocalypses. Something about zombies super ick me and terrify me at the same time. Same, that's why I love it. But this has really gotten me to try harder to get more into shows like The Last of Us, because I know I'll love the heartbreak so much more. I love that because I think that Angie and I have always bonded on this as friends. We're both obsessed with the apocalypse. And that's not a joke. We genuinely both are very much obsessed with the apocalypse. And I always specifically have been obsessed with the apocalypse because there's something so... I mean, I'm an actor by trade, right? Like that. Well, not by trade. By... Training by life, like that's what I am.
A trained actor.
And so I love humans. I hate people, but I love humans. And just the way that they work and the way that they think and everything is so interesting to me. And so I feel like there is no more time that humanity is more interesting than when they are reverted back to their basic needs, and how they act with each other. Do they become animal beast-like things, or do they still strive for community, for art, for God's sake, for that kind of stuff? And so I think that is one of the reasons why I love The Last of Us so much, because sometimes I understand where you're coming from, Bees, because sometimes apocalypse movies are all about just like the horror of it and the action of it and the spectacle of it, which is fun, and I love that too. But the best media is the media that highlights the search for whatever humanity still is within this world. And I think The Last of Us is one of the big contributors to that kind of media, where, yes, it's in the apocalypse. That's a huge thing. It's scary. It's spectacle. It's a big deal. But that's just the setting. That's just the given circumstances of the world. The story is about who are these people, what is humanity, and what are you willing to do to survive? And I think that is something that we've translated pretty well into The Remains. I don't know what anybody else has to say about that, if anything.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah,
Exactly
brother.
it, dude.
All right, well, let's jump into season 8 specifically. And I'd love to just, kind of free form. What moments stood out to you? What moments are you just like, this was a great moment. That was awesome.
First one that I'm still obsessed with is the end of the first episode when Wallace and Ruby have the whole conversation about the Lord of the Rings.
It's
And,
amazing.
like,
It's so good. It was
like, if you want to talk about humanity and like humans, like you have said it several times of just like we here at Charmed Persons believe that like stories are everything, and just hearing two people on horseback going towards like kind of a dangerous like scouting mission and having this moment where like one of them is schooling the other and then gets schooled, and like I'm pretty sure that you even said like he didn't even watch the actual movie, he saw it as a trailer on another movie, and like all he knows about this book or this story is this trailer. And I just thought that was like, it was so honest and so like the perfect improv of just like these two very different characters, and you guys just like immediately 100%ed it together. And it was like,
that's something that I was gonna say too, Angie, to back up. I was just gonna say, not only was it just perfect like narratively, but it was also mechanically top-notch improv by both of you. Like it was perfect.
solid.
Yes, and it was so
Yeah.
good.
Adam, have you and I talked about, like, do you know how much I love Lord of the Rings?
That was gonna be the other thing that I said, is I was like, I don't know if Adam knew how much,
It's funny, in our conversations about Lord of the Rings, Alice has always been there. So it's always been mitigated by a person who's like, I hate Lord of the Rings. So I don't think we've like gotten to like deep into talking about it before. But
we'll talk offline.
That.
Yeah, it was so funny because truly my reaction in that moment was like, Jen was so delighted to be talked to about Lord of the Rings that I was like, wait, I have to be like, whatever my character's, what is my character's relationship to Lord of the Rings?
And it was so true. It was so real, and it was.
Yeah, I think the reason it felt so authentic is because we both were like so excited to talk about it all of a sudden.
The straight up delivery of just the simple beat that Adam did was so good. It was fantastic. Good. Yeah, I love that moment.
I feel like we also can't forget just like the film cut together at the end.
So
just
good.
Was like such a perfect bow at the end.
It really was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really well done, Adam. That was super cool.
I didn't share this with the stream before, but like while we were going through the game in my note.
Wait. I got you. Hey.
No, take the blur away. in my little notebook, I would write
This
down
is so
scenes that
cool.
were happening and then put a little slate on there, like just reminding myself of things that Wallace would film. And so I had like through the entire like 4 episodes, I had a bunch of little clips that Wallach
So good.
had just like recorded and stuff. And I every time I've always played D&D, I'll write down something badass that someone says. One of the things I wrote down that doesn't have a little film thing is when Zach, you said
I can only imagine.
something about I'm a dog.
What?
What was it?
Oh, I got that dog in
I'm
me.
quicker than you, bitch. I'm only 2 years old.
Oh.
You
What?
you were speaking as the dog?
As Bogey.
As Bogey?
To Mr. Sir.
Yeah, I'm quicker than you, bitch. I'm only 2 years old.
You said, "Psych." This is actually a showing of Homeward Bound.
I
Yeah.
genuinely don't remember saying that, which is so funny.
It was like during the introduction.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Bogey was like
So
running
funny.
around everybody and was like,
Yeah.
I'm quicker than you, bitch.
It's a thing that I always do is just take notes of like little things, moments that I like, and I'm like,
Love
oh, I could just line up my own behaviors with my character's behaviors now. And
It's so perfect.
packaged it
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Something that I loved was the reveal of Ruby's brother right before we got into the bunker.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
whole moment was like one of those RPG moments where you're like after everything happens, right? Like brother reveals takes his hood off and then gets into the brawl with the other guy that he didn't kill, and like Zach, you're just rolling dice after dice after dice, and we don't know what's going on except for the fact that they're punching each other
Yeah.
and like fighting to the death, and everything after that was completely determined by the roll of the dice. And it was just one of those moments of like, oh, this could have gone a completely other direction, and it worked out so beautifully to have this reunion with Ruby and her brother and just like being able to witness it as Meg and Perry. It was like just such a wonderful moment of like, this is why we play the game. It's all
Yeah.
up
Well,
to
and I mean that's
the roll of the dice.
I totally didn't see it coming either. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was like, because there's so much information that I've received about like past Blue Valley seasons.
of course, yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a character that Angie and Emily recognize.
Yeah.
Like, he's in a mask.
No, that
whatever.
was, and watching
And then I was
you
like-
realize it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Was
No,
like,
it was great.
really cool.
It was definitely. I love that shit, and that's a testament to you guys. That's a testament to being a character that brings in backstory and brings in little nuggets that I can then pull in and use, which is great. I mean, genuinely, I changed the trajectory of season 8 based off of Meg's backstory. I like originally the sickness was going to be a minor role. It was I had planned it, but it was going to be a minor thing that you were dealing with, and I ended up making it like the thing because of Meg's backstory was like so connected to a sickness, and I was like, oh well, that's too good to pass up. So yeah, that was great. And then I mean I have to give props to Angie. I mean, whew, that Morgan death scene was. Man, yeah, that was intense. It's always
A part of
so-
me died.
Yeah, I know, but
Like-
also like low key, I want to give you like a real big shout out because I'm such a fucking nerd, and I'm such a fucking like weirdo that like this kind of stuff is like I can jump to an alternate reality in my brain incredibly easily. Like that's just something that I can do. But like for you to be willing to like logistically sit in your room by yourself in front of a camera on Zoom with your friends and in front of other random people who are just watching you online and playing a fictional person, to be able to like ignore all of that and still tell like a really compelling story is awesome, and that's what I love about what we do and what Charm Persons does, and that was a real highlight of that, I think, because I don't know, that's just it's why I fucking love us. Stories are so important, and honestly, I want to say something that B said again in the chat, and they said the bit about art in the end times is such a crazy thing to think about, and I love it. In times of struggle, look to art through history to see the real voice of the people, and I can only imagine how art and creativity would spiral during the actual end of the world. Which is so true, because, you know, I've always said, and I could go on a huge rant and an entire talkback just about this, but I've always said, you know, I think that humans do have souls, and I think it is our souls that allow us to create art. I think it is the thing that makes us different from the animals around us and our ancestors. And you know, if you Neanderthals were faster, stronger, and had better tools than Homo sapiens. Statistically, they should have beaten us, and everybody should be descendants of Neanderthals. But I purely think that what it was art and stories and communities that gave Homo sapiens a ledge, and because they had something to fight for, they had something to live for, and I think that since the dawn of time, stories and art have been the thing that make us who we are and make us different. And yeah, and I just think it's really important, and I think that tabletop games are games, and they're a lot of fun, and I think that they are a great medium for storytelling if you find the right people to do it with. That was a huge rant. I'm sorry, but it's just great, and you guys really killed it.
Once again, we say yes, brother.
Yes. Okay, sorry. I apologize for the rant. What is stuff that you would have liked to see us explore more? Like, man, I wish we would have had the chance to dive into that a little bit more. Is there anything like that?
I mean, I wish Tori and Morgan had had a moment.
Yeah.
Like a real moment.
For sure.
But I think that that's part of the, like, devastating nature of this game is that, like, things happen really suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And they always do. And, like, Tori had a bit of like, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but with, like, knowing that she was going to lose Jenna, knowing for a long time that she was going to lose her mom. I don't know much about how her dad died, but, like, knowing that people were going to go for a long time.
Nick,
and always, there we go. And always assuming that she had more time with people.
Yeah. I mean, and it's honestly, it is so The Last of Us, because, like, spoilers, but Ellie and Joel didn't have a final moment. They didn't have actually, you know what, we're kind of okay. They almost did, but, you know, it'll happen quick, and it'll happen in any moment, and it is sad, and it sucks, but it's also life in that way. Yeah. Anybody else?
After Perry's great sacrifice, and just, like, the way that, you know, she took it upon herself, I was always curious about Perry, like, as Morgan and as Angie, like, throughout the whole thing, because she, like, we got to see as players her story, but, like, to be Morgan and to not know someone about this community, like, hated that. Like, constantly I could feel or see that there was, like, it had only been a few months, and Morgan's like, why don't I know everything about you? What is your role? What are you doing? What are we doing? Like, let's go sign up for a volunteer shit, like, blah blah blah. And so I think like throughout the whole thing, I found myself getting to want more of Perry and more of where Perry came from and like why she was the way she was. And then she did this very, very selfless, heroic thing that was literally like the reason that everybody got out. And like, you know, from Morgan's perspective, like Morgan didn't even get to celebrate her. Like if Morgan would have lived, Perry would have had a statue, and Perry would have been the person who was celebrated, and like Morgan's role in the community previous to that kind of like made people feel more for her. But like, yeah, I just found myself wanting like I wanted like a Perry spin-off. Like I wanted
I
like,
mean, I'll be completely honest. I was bummed with that choice, Meg. I completely understand it, and I'm glad you did it because that's what you wanted to do, and it's what you thought Perry would do. But I mean, I thought we had barely even touched on what Perry's story was. But in a way, that's like, you know, once again, it's that wasted potential. It's that like, what if?
but like everybody
I mean,
kind of had their thing, right? Like we all kind of got this highlight throughout the whole thing.
I want more Wallage's backstory.
yeah, we need more Wallage too.
Where did he come from, this young child?
Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
He came from I think I don't know if I even actually sent Zach this because I think I wrote it after episode 2. That so before, what I did send Zach is that he was found in the woods by some runners, and then they brought him in when he was like a little kid. And then I just wrote a little, like a couple sentences that like what he was doing in the woods is he was out there with his parents trying to find shelter and safety, and then his father gets torn apart by one of the zombies, and then his mother just runs and he loses his mom, and he just like they like misses that connection, and then she's gone. And so
devastating.
The parallel of Morgan and Theo and like so Wallace had like this like needed to get this like point across of don't let your mom don't let her go, don't let her run. And then when she was telling everyone to run, and then Wallace gets clobbered by that bloater, and then it was all a lot of parallels for him. Were coming up in that moment, and it was just like he was just gonna follow whatever Morgan said, and it was just this. It was very cool, and Meg, you might feel this too, where it's like, oh, you know just enough about your character to like know what they're gonna do next.
Totally.
And it's like it didn't take much, but like just having that little seed was just like, oh, I now know because of who my character is that my next action that I would if I was a player just like dropping in, I would be like, what do I do? But my character, I would know.
So I actually wrote like two pages of backstory for Perry.
Whoa.
Because I don't. I know, it's the Virgo rising in me, man. I just but I also at the same time like wrote very specific moments in depth of like if anyone, you know, when our characters are chatting, how did she meet Bogey? What happened the minute she left her old community? Like what, you know, very in-depth specific moments, but kind of to your point of what you were saying, like everything else is just kind of like I know what her objective was or what her drive wherever she was in the few years before from leaving SoCal to getting to Blue Valley. I know the drive and objective she had, but she was walking around. She was wandering around, and that actually plays into like the decision of why she decided to go close the door at the end, is because like her main, she left SoCal and was like, I'll survive. I'll be scrappy, right? Like I'll do what I need to do to survive. But if I don't, that's okay. Like I don't have anyone. I don't have anything. And so she meets Bogey and the walls start to break down because she finally lets somebody into her life. Even if it is a dog. Um, and then she meets the people in Blue Valley and the walls start to break down even more, even though, you know, she was still very hesitant and quiet and didn't want to let a lot of people in at all or not too deep. But I think when Bogey dies, like if he didn't die, which I'm not coming for you, Zach, because it was great storytelling, as sad as it was. If he didn't die, I think that she might not have gone to close the door. She was back at a place of kind of contentness with dying. And she did not only what she needed to do to survive up until going through the doors, but she also helped other people survive as well. And it was like it was like twofold of the original objective when she left years ago up until this moment. Like I saved myself up until this point and I can help save other people. And it was just kind of a no-brainer to go in and push the button. So
yeah, I definitely regret killing Bogey.
No, don't regret it because
no,
it was so good for her character development.
What it is, I guess I don't regret Bogey because it saved your life. But what I do, because really it was you that should have died. But what I do regret, I guess, is the fact that I do all of my roles directly in front of you, so that you know that there is no fudging. But let's just say if I did that in, like, for instance, our long running campaign, we would have had a few problems. And so I think that anybody who's a DM is lying to you if they say that they don't fudge numbers. Because not only is the point to tell a story, but the point is for everybody to have fun, and the point is and so sometimes you just get things wrong. And sometimes you just balance things incorrectly, or sometimes the fates are absurdly one way when they normally wouldn't be. So it is, I will say, it's crazy. In 8 seasons of The Remains, it's the first time that's happened. We've had combat in session 1, session 2. I mean, we've had early combat, and it's never happened that someone has. It's always gotten close, but it's always been really balanced, and it just.
If you did let me die, I could have just come back and played as Bogey. Like, talk about something you've never seen on the show before.
That's true. Yeah, I created
a whole new skin.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let me know if you have any questions, Bees, before we wrap up. But I did say I wanted to talk, Meg. Let's live in a fantasy world for a second. Let's say, because, for instance, this was one, I don't know if you remember this because it was so chaotic in the moment, but I tried to have Nick roll and understand what was going on with the hallway. I told Emily this, and if he would have understood, Nick 110% would have gone and shut that hallway door. Which is another reason why, once again, not to come for somebody, but is another reason why I was so surprised that Angie never said anything. Morgan's character knew the entire time what needed to happen with that hallway door, but never said anything to anybody about it. And so I was, having these NPCs roll to see if they could figure it out, and they couldn't. But you did roll to figure it out, and you did figure it out, and you did close it. And so if that didn't happen, if Nick would have gone there, and if Nick would have done it, or if something else would have saved it so that Perry would have lived, what would you have seen in Perry's future?
Oh. Well, I I don't know. I came so much to terms with the fact that she's out of here, but I don't know. I like the idea of her really settling in at Blue Valley for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah.
I think in like maybe the spirit of Bogey just like continuing to train dogs on the property and just kind of maybe take the place of what's the character
Olive.
Peggy? Olive.
Oh, Penny was the animal person. Yes, Olive was the person who was the owner of Mr. Sir, who ran the armory.
Got you. Yeah. So maybe following in Penny's footsteps, perhaps, and just kind of continuing that. But I also do like the idea of maybe her, maybe later in her life, venturing off again, but in a different light. You know, maybe to find other groups that would need support in the training that she can offer, perhaps. I don't know, like in just a different vein of continuing the nomad lifestyle that she became so accustomed to. So yeah.
What if? Any other thoughts? Things you want to touch on? It's okay if not.
Everyone stay alive.
Stay alive.
Don't go back out there.
I loved Angie's, not Morgan's, Angie's plea at the end of the finale for Community, which is so true. B said, any sneak peek as to what could be next? Yes. First of all, I will say that officially, I'm saying it on stream, so it's definitely official. Season 8 was the last season that will take place in Blue Valley. Blue Valley is going to rest with Morgan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the last time we'll see Blue Valley characters. Who knows if we could ever see some of them again, but they won't be in Blue Valley if we do. That community has had enough trauma and is going to ride through the apocalypse relatively safe from here. Or all get wiped out. I haven't decided yet. But
We'll never know.
But we'll never know. So, but as far as for a sneak peek as to what is next, the answer is yes. For a while, I thought about going back to Atlanta. But instead, I think we are going to take a journey into the world of canon. And we're going to Jackson County for season 9. So we'll see what happens with that. So if you want to know about that, follow our socials, join the Discord, and we'll keep you updated. Are there any final thoughts from you guys before we head out?
I'm sweating.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just gonna RPG fucking agriculture duty. It's fine.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. You really brought it for season 8. You gave Blue Valley a great send off. And I hope to see all 3 of the newbies in future seasons of The Remains. Maybe even next season. Who knows? So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Bees, for being active in the chat and chatting with us. Thank you, my players. The best players a GM can ask for. I say it every time, and I mean it every time. And as always, everybody say bye.